Well, you're probably thinking, oh, he's got a V8 in there. And you would be right. Hey, so check it out. This is one of the craziest sleeper mini trucks that I've ever seen and certainly ever built. This thing looks like it would be nothing. If it pulled up to you on the road, you would never think that this thing was hiding something inside that'll rip your head off. So let me tell you about my friend Arthur's pickup truck. This is a 1983 Mazda B2000, and it's the most unassuming vehicle you'll probably ever see. When Arthur first came to me with this project, I didn't understand why he even wanted to mess with it. I know that mini trucks are getting very popular, and that was the thing back in the 80s and 90s, but I just didn't understand. And then he told me. This truck was the actual truck that Arthur drove to high school. And, even better than that, this truck was the vehicle he drove on the very first date with his wife. So, there's a lot of sentimental value. His brothers tore all over the place with him in it. He got in lots of trouble in it. He met his wife in it. Pretty cool little story. A lot of history to it. So let me tell you a little bit about this truck. Again, it's a 1983 Mazda B2000. So I'm going to get behind the camera. I'm going to do a little walk around. I'll show you some of the stuff we've done. And I'll tell you why it's back here for a little more love. So 1983 Mazda B2000. This came originally with a little stock 4-cylinder in it and a 4-speed manual transmission. And he actually didn't have these rims on it when he first brought it to me. I found these. I thought they looked very period correct for a mid-80s mini truck. This is a Sundowner, a Mazda B2000 Sundowner. And it's got a few love rubs and bumps and dents, but there is no rust in this thing. When he brought this to me originally, he told me he wanted to put something in it that would humiliate some people from a stoplight. Well, if you look at this thing, you wouldn't think it would ever do that. I mean, even inside, the only hint is that gear shift knob sticking out. But, you know, if you look on the sides, there's some evidence with that exhaust pipe right there. One of two. Anyway, this is just actually a pretty clean little 83 Mazda B2000. So Arthur's idea was this. Arthur thought, you know, I'd like to have my high school truck back, and I'd like to not be embarrassed when I take off from a stoplight. Let me show you what we have underneath this truck as far as the rear end is concerned. Now you all know that I am a Ford 9-inch fan. But for those of you who knows cars, you'll know that that is not a Ford 9-inch. See, I sort of got duped. This is a narrow little pickup truck, and we were going to talk about doing a Ford 9-inch in it because that's usually what I do. But then I found out that the Ford 8.8 out of a 95 Ford Explorer came with disc brakes, a positive traction rear end. Actually, they call it traction lock, but a positive traction rear end, and it was supposed to be narrow enough for us to put it underneath this and not have to narrow any axles. I said supposed to be narrow enough because it actually ended up not being narrow enough. So after we got the rear end, bought it, paid good money for it, we get it in here, we get it installed, and those tires on the back end stuck out so far it looked ridiculous. And he's ultimately going to go with a different tire and rim combination to give him a little more traction in the back. So what ended up happening is after spending our money on a Ford 8.8, we ended up having to go ahead, narrow the axle, and get new axles for the rear end of it because they came with 5 lug and we needed 6 lug because we wanted to keep the old look of the pickup truck. The rear end is an excellent rear end. It's 373 ring and pinion. It is traction lock or posi, and we just had to narrow this one just like we do all the other stuff that we do. So it has to look right. So this rear end went in here and actually bolts into the stock location. You'll notice that we narrowed it a little bit more than what you'd normally see. You see it sticks in maybe about an inch extra. And that's because he's going to change rims, like I said before. He's going to end up with a little wider tire on the back. So we wanted to give him that availability on the axle while we're doing it. If you're going to spend the money, just go ahead and do it right. Do it right the first time. So the rear end is a great rear end. It doesn't hold up to the horsepower of a 9-inch. Maybe up to 600 horsepower or something, but we don't have anywhere near that in this truck. So we have the Posi-Track rear end to be able to help the truck hook up a little bit, if it's going to at all. But, you know, what kind of monster are we going to put in here? Well, before we get to the engine, let me tell you what we did for a transmission. He wanted manual transmission. He wanted to jam the gears, but he didn't want a 4-speed. But, you know, Arthur's a great guy, but he's not the richest guy in the whole wide world, and this definitely was a budget build. And it was a lot of money, but nothing compared to what is out there. So we decided to go with a 5-speed manual transmission out of a 93 Chevy Silverado. It's called an NV3500. It'll hold up to 500 horsepower, no problem at all. So we did an NV3500 out of a 93 or 94 Silverado, I don't remember what it is. It went up against a small block Chevrolet V8. Well, you're probably thinking, oh, he's got a V8 in there. And you would be right. But it's not just another 350 stuck in a little mini truck. So I'm going to pop the hood. I'm going to show you what we have. I'm going to tell you what we did to it, and what it took to get there. And it's actually pretty cool. All right, here's the great unveiling. So what we have here is a 5.3 liter truck version of an LS, Vortec, whatever you want to call it, Chevrolet V8. And this little girl screams, and it took a lot to get this gigantic engine into this little tiny engine bay. You'll notice here at the back that the firewall used to go right across here. We had to relieve it 13 inches to be able to get that engine in there. Not only did we have to relieve the firewall 13 inches, we had to move the master cylinder 4 inches to the outside. We had to move the steering box 3 inches to the outside, and we had to move the pedals 4 inches also to the outside. In addition to that, one of my rules about a sleeper is there can be no holes in the hood. You don't want anyone to know what you have underneath the hood. We could not even run one of the factory covers on top of this intake manifold. As a matter of fact, if you look closely here, we had to grind off pieces of the manifold so that the hood could shut. We are so close on this. You notice these rub marks right there, and it is what it is. That is rubbing right there on the hood. It is so close, you'll notice a little rub mark right there, and that's coming from that spot right there. This thing is so close to not fitting, it's incredible. Now you notice we have a lot of room here in between the engine and the radiator, and we had to push the engine way back into the bay because of the cross member for the suspension. Even with it being pushed back that far, we still had to notch the cross member and weld some new panels in. We had to build custom exhaust because no one in their right mind would put this engine into this truck, and nobody builds an exhaust system for it. And this custom header on the side actually goes forward slightly, and then the header on the other side, this one goes back. So we hand built those headers, and we had to custom fit them to this body because certainly no one has ever produced a set of headers for this. Now, if you look on the internet, there have been a couple of guys who have done this basic swap. They didn't do exactly what we did. They chopped pieces out that we weren't willing to chop out. But this is a whole lot of engine for this little tiny truck. So that being said, people are asking, why is the truck back here? Well, one of Arthur's faults is he likes to race. He likes to go fast. And he was ripping some gears, and he called me one day and he said, hey, I have a little bit of a transmission fluid leak. I said, well, you need to make sure you check that, and you know, we got to keep an eye on that, figure out. We'd put new seals in the tranny, but we weren't sure where it was leaking from. And before we could get to it, he decided to take it out on a big rip, and we seized this transmission up. Now, what we're doing is we're going to put a new tranny in it for him. going to do a rebuilt one. We're going to try and beef up a couple of things because he tends to jam the gears and burn the tires and likes to go fast. And I don't blame him. But it's back here at the shop. We're going to do a transmission job on this real quick. We'll do it over the next 2 or 3 weeks. We got to do it after Brandon's truck. We've got to get his taken care of. He is going to love that big block truck. And we're anxious to see that thing ripping down the road and burning some tires. One of these days, we are going to do a great big burnout video for you guys of all the cars. This one will be on there. Brandon's truck will be on there. Ben's truck will be on there. We have some old footage of doing burnouts with the giveaway truck. And maybe we'll get the Vespa to do a little bit of stuff if we get that clutch put back in there. Anyway, it's going to be fun. We're excited to work on this and get it put back together for them so we can go out and have some fun. We appreciate you guys spending the time to take a look at these videos. Over the next couple of weeks, we're going to get Brandon's truck taken care of. Then we'll get on this. We'll go out and have some fun. Spin some tires and get some tickets. Anyway, just a quick announcement. This Friday, in the next few Fridays, we will not have a video. Spending a lot of time doing videos and we got to get on to doing more builds. It takes me a while. I'm not the world's greatest at doing the videos, but it takes a while. So we're trying to focus on getting some of these cars up and running. We're going to go have some fun in them. We're going to burn some tires. We're going to get them back to their owners, and everyone will be excited to see that. So we're going to do Wednesday videos and Sunday videos for a while. I'll let you know when we have time to get back and do the Friday videos. But for now, we're going to do Wednesdays and Sundays, and hopefully you guys will have a good time doing it. So remember, we have a new merchandise store, www.theoddrodgarage.com. Please subscribe to the channel. Share the link. Share it in Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. And let people know what's going on out here. Let us know what we're doing. Hit the bell notification and send us a message. We'd like to hear from you guys and see some of the questions and express some of the concerns. Anyway, we appreciate you guys coming by. And as always, thanks for watching.